I'm Justin Davis, and this is Drone Camps RC. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to check out a new 3-inch quad from Helifar. I'm excited about this one because I saw it come up on the website a few weeks ago, and I requested that I get a copy to review for you guys. And here it is. And it did not come perfectly tuned out of the box. It did have some kinks that we had to work out, and the other reviewers, I had 2 other people review this one already, so they are ahead of me on this game, and that's good for me because they've already tuned it. So Andy, big shout out to you for tuning this and getting a proper tune on it with the Gemfan props that we have on here. Now these are really good performing props. I use these on the GT-M3 out in Eastern Oregon, and they perform really well for 3-inch. Now, biggest thing with 3-inch is that you want to have a nice low-end punch-out, because when you come back around from a big maneuver, you don't want to just fly right into the ground. If you don't have enough cord in your prop, you're not going to have enough power to just boost out of those freestyle maneuvers. So it's very important that you have the right prop on the right quad. So this 3-inch is going to be set up for freestyle, and that's pretty much how I'm going to fly it today for you guys in this review. We'll do some line of sight coming up, and we'll also do some freestyle. We're also going to run the Firefly cam on the top right now, and this one's selling out pretty quick. It's a 1080p, little tiny 14-gram camera that records 1080p and 720p, and also supports a micro SD card in the side, has a 160-degree field of view. It's a really nice one. Also, I'm printing these TPU mounts for people. If you need one, let me know, send me an email. You can get that off my website. But anyway, let's go ahead and jump into the Helifar X140. Well, what makes it so special compared to something like the GT-M3 V2 series from Diatone? Well, this one has SkyStars branded gear on here. It has 25 amp 4-in-1 ESC on there. It has an Omnibus F4 flight controller, which is flashed with Betaflight 3.2, and that is not the newest version out there, but I did go in there and turn on the dynamic filter and make sure that had the anti-gravity on there as well. And I turned off a few other things on the OSD. It has Betaflight OSD, which is great. That is definitely something that every quad nowadays should have. 2018, there shouldn't be any quads without Betaflight OSD. It's just very easy to change around things on the screen and move things around and add your own custom pilot name, which is really nice. It also is sporting a 600 TVL run cam clone style camera on here, and it's not a run cam, but it is a pretty good camera, and I have had no troubles with that this afternoon. So I'm going to show you a few things I'd probably do on the quad as well in this review. Maybe add a little bit of hot glue on the side of where this tiny little connector connects right there and runs down underneath the quad right here. This is a pretty beefy setup, and I think we're going to have good luck with this. I've already crashed it twice, so I've had no problems with this. But I did replace the antenna that came along with it. It's this little red dipole right here. Not the greatest antenna in the world. I wanted a little better reception, so I went with the AX2, and this is a right-hand circular polarized antenna that I put on there. So I'm going to get a little better video feed back to my goggles. Now, along with those 25 amp ESCs in here, I believe they do burst up to 30. They do have some decent motors on here. These are 1408 and they're 3800 kV. They are branded with SkyStars on the side. So these are the first motors that I've seen come out of GearBest with SkyStars on them. So that's kind of cool. They're catching up to speed and branding their motors now. The Futon 2 that came from Helifar didn't have any printing on the motors, so they were unbranded, but these are finally up to date. So I'm expecting that this is a little newer model than the Futon 2, but we have other things on here that are great, like a beeper as well and some built-in LEDs. It's a little bit crooked back there, but they are on there. So you want a beeper on a 3-inch quad. It's going to be pretty hard to find this quad out in the field in the deep grass without a beeper. Now you're looking at the bottom of the quad, and we do have 3K beveled carbon fiber arms, which is really nice, and they're also replaceable. You also have a nice detail on this quad. It does have gold hardware on the bottom, which is kind of cool. I've seen Frsky do that before, and that's kind of a nice little detail that they add to their models. Now, some people might want to move this antenna setup right here to the very back. You can print a TPU mount and have it coming off the back, and maybe you won't break it, but so far, like I was saying before, I haven't had any problems with this antenna setup, so it is is pretty durable where it's at, and you're definitely not going to break this antenna that came along with it. Now you also do get a full-size battery strap, which is nice because this does fit around the larger 1000 milliamp style batteries. You can run this quad from 4S 850 up to a 1000. 1000 does start to feel a little bit heavy, and you're going to have to take that in consideration, but you can run a 1000 if you want to get a little longer flight time and you're not doing such crazy freestyle with this quad. So if you're just kind of generally sport flying around, the 1000 would be totally fine. Now I also did take a zip tie and put it around the battery cable coming out of the back of the 4-in-1 ESCs, mainly because you don't want this cable to get pulled and pull those tabs directly off your 4-in-1 ESC on the bottom right there, because those tabs will break off and then your ESC is going to be finished. There wouldn't be no fixing that 4-in-1 ESC if this breaks off. Now it also comes with a switchable VTX, and it goes from 25-100 up to 200 milliwatt, so that's kind of nice. It does have this little tiny connector that I really don't like. I've talked about this one before. I wish it was the MMCX connector, the newer updated one, but the button for this to switch it is in the very back, which I think might be kind of a con. You just have to get in there with something tiny and press it. It's kind of hard to get to with your finger, so I kind of wish that button was located on the side, but it's not. It's at the very back of the VTX. But I had no problems so far with this VTX, and it does have smart audio already set up, so you can go ahead and use your stick configuration, and you can go in there and change channels and power levels on this VTX, which makes it really, really nice, because a lot of people want smart audio for their VTXs these days. Just makes things a lot easier, and you might need to set that up in the port configuration if the VTX is not selected on one of the UART channels. And let's just take a look at the way this top part of the frame is built. They do have these sort of pink niobium looking aluminum standoffs, and they have the camera completely recessed in here, and actually I can see a little bit of the frame in my camera view. Let's just go ahead and take a look at the side of this frame, and this is pretty important. They did add a piece of carbon fiber here versus the Frsky X140, and they moved this camera back. Before we had the camera sticking out, and a lot of reviewers made comments about this camera sticking out because if you're racing, the first thing that's going to hit the gate would be your camera if you came in contact with a gate. So it's pretty important that they have recessed it, and it is maybe sticking out like 1 millimeter now in the very front right here. So that's a lot better camera protection than what we had before. But like I said before, it was nice on that older frame. You could get the run cam split up inside there, and with this particular model you're not going to be able to do that unless you move the camera forward somehow with a TPU mount. So that's going to be one con about this particular frame, is that you're not going to be able to get the run cam split in there, but I can live with the DVR and my Firefly camera up here. So Firefly is going to take care of the run cam splits job, and this is only like $25 for a 1080p video, which is a pretty good deal. And we'll talk about the props for a moment. I've already gone and switched the props out to the Gemfan 3052s. These are going to perform much better than the stock props that came in the box. You can use these. They look very, very strikingly similar to the Racecraft props. They're not Racecraft branded. I believe they're some type of copy or clone of the Racecraft prop. And the Racecraft prop did pretty good on the X140, the Frsky last year, but I'm no longer using these props, and I'm not ordering these anymore. So since then, everybody's flying the Gemfan 3-inch props, and these do really, really nice. So I'll try to add a link down below for you guys to find this particular prop. I think there's a pretty good deal on them right now for like 10 pairs of these props. These are really nice performing props. Now if you look at this frame from the side again, you can see that it does have a flat top on here, which is great for adding any type of little action cam or sport cam on there. So that fits my Firefly perfect on the top with my TPU mount, and I'm able to get to it if I need to charge it or take in and out my micro SD card. Now aside from getting 2 sets of props in the box, you also get some zip ties and some heat shrink for your receiver wires coming out the back, and I just put mine at the very back right here. If you're going to use this Firefly on top, this is how you want to do this. Have these coming off the back right here, and run another zip tie to keep these straight up so they don't fall back into your props on a crash. Now also inside here, this is nice, they did give us an XT30. So if you have batteries already that are 4S 850s, sometimes the 4S 850s do come with an XT30. If you want to, you can make up a converter. I have done that already. That converts my XT30 batteries over to an XT60, and that has no problem with the power ratio coming into the battery. You're not going to get a flip of death. I also turned up the rate. The motor timing is now 6 inside the configuration tab, so you can also turn yours up to 6, and you're probably not going to get a flip of death. But I flew it at 4.5 the way it came, and I didn't have any problems with flips of death, so that's good news for you guys. So let's go ahead and turn on the scale, and I'll give you a weigh-in real quick. We'll do a dry weight with the Firefly camera on there, and we'll let you know what we get there. It's 182.3.4 grams without the battery. Now I'll go ahead and put the battery on there. Now with the battery it weighs 291.3 grams, so it is kind of a heavy 3-inch with a 4S 850, which is pretty standard size battery for this particular quad. 291 grams is, yeah, it's definitely a little bit heavy, but this is that connector I was telling you guys about as well. So if you want to make one of these up for connecting your XT30s, you don't have to solder up that other cable on the back of this quad, because that would be kind of a pain in the butt to get to that. So keep that in mind. You can make this little converter, and then you can plug this XT30 style battery right into your XT60 on the back of your quad. Makes it a lot easier. Alright guys, let's go ahead and do the line of sight flight test. Let's go ahead and get this guy up in the air. And this is after I've done the PID modification inside Betaflight. I've got my Firefly cam on the top up there, and I don't really feel a lot of weight. I've already FPV'd it. I FPV'd it first with the stock props and the original PIDs that came with it. But I ended up switching over to some custom PIDs, which are working a lot better. So we're gonna say thanks to Andy for that. He's already tuned this quad. Thumbs up to him, as always. I did hear a little bit of vibe in the original setup, so if you guys are gonna get this quad, you definitely want to use the custom PIDs. Just dial those in. You can turn your rates back to 75 if you want it to fly a little bit smoother. They had it up to like 81. I'd probably back off that a little bit. Some of you guys wouldn't like how loose that was. If you're getting into FPV or you're brand new, you want a smoother flying quad, but they do say this is the Pro model. However, there's going to be a lot of new guys buying this quad anyway. But it does have really nice components on here. Let's just go ahead and do a punch out for you. 1, 2, 3. It's not bad. So this one's going to be kind of like a competitor to the Diatone GT series, the M3 version 2 that I flew a while back. You guys saw an awesome review of that one out in Eastern Oregon. Flying off the cliffs, but today we're flying in Washington, and it's a really nice day out to fly, so I think this is going to do pretty well. I do have the Gemfan props on there, and I'll try to put a link down below for these specific props. These are going to do way better. Stock props that came along with it, they are sort of a Racecraft 2017 clone, and you really don't need to run those because I think they will draw a lot more power out of your battery. And if you're going to freestyle this one, which most people are, they're just free flying it, if you use the Gemfan props, it's going to give you a little bit better float on your power loops. These perform really, really well. So this just gives you that extra boost that you're looking for when you hit the throttle, because if you don't have that sort of wider chord prop on this 3-inch, you can really feel it, and it wants to just hit the ground, and you can't catch yourself very easily. You have to be full throttle to catch yourself when you're coming around from a power loop, and you want to just skirt the ground. It's really hard to do that with those other props. Not really a good freestyle prop, but they're okay for racing, but for freestyle, you want something that's gonna catch you in your big maneuvers. But this is looking pretty good. So we're gonna go ahead and set this down, and we're gonna do some FPV. Here we go.
Baby girl, you're so fine, so fine, you blow my mind. Look at you, coochie coo, juicy tushy, coochie coo. Booby 1, booby 2, bounce it like a Looney Tune. Booty booming, cookie juice, flushing out your coochie boo. You so cute like Pikachu, Pika. What's that then you speaking to my lonely heart like peekaboo? Now every time I think of you, now by my side I drama. I just wanna sing lullabies to my little butterfly. Baby girl, you're so fine, you blow my mind. Look at you, coochie coo, juicy tushy, coochie coo. Booby 1, booby tushy, cushy, goo. Booby one, booby two, bouncing like a Looney Tune. Booty booming, cookie juice, flushing out your coochie boo. You so cute like Pikachu, Pikachu. What's that? Then you sneak into my lonely heart like peekaboo. Now every time I think of you, now by my side I dry my eye. I just wanna sing lullabies to my little butterfly. Baby girl, you're so fine, so fine, you blow my mind. Look at you, coochie coo, juicy tushy, cushy goo. Booby one, booby two, bouncing like a Looney Tune. Booty booming, cookie juice, flushing out your coochie boo. You so cute like Pikachu, ain't no one so sweet like you. I was that, then you sneak into my lonely heart like peekaboo. Now every time I think of you, now by my side I dry my eye. I just wanna sing lullabies to my little butterfly. To my little butterfly. To my little butterfly.
Alright guys, now we're back on the bench and we can talk about the after flight report. Just going to give you some star rating and my final opinion on this review for the Helifar X140 Pro. Well, I think it's a pretty good quad. It did take a little bit of tuning right out of the box, and it wasn't perfect out of the box, kind of like the Turtles was. I flew the Turtles a couple weeks ago, and that was a really great quad right out of the box. This one is supposed to be a Pro model, which is great, and they did do some factory tuning on this. So Frsky, if they have turned their name into Helifar, it seems that the Helifar quads are faring a lot better than the Frsky brand did. They're throwing better components at these quads, and they're performing a lot better than the original Frsky line. So we're seeing a lot better performance out of the Helifar brand, which I really like. And the VTXs, the power systems, and the frames, everything, the hardware looks way better than what we had last year. So we are moving forward with this brand, which is nice. Now I'm going to go ahead and rate this quad at a 4.6 because I'm demoting a couple points out of 5, mainly because they didn't have a perfect tune on it with the stock props that came along with it. But once we added those Gemfan props and we got it tuned properly, turned down the Ds, actually turned the Ds way down and adjusted the Is as well, and the P's, everything seemed to just flow a lot better, and it's a good quad now. If you use those PIDs, and I put them on the screen earlier so you guys could copy those PIDs and put it in your own quad. If you order this one, you definitely don't want to fly it without those PIDs because you're going to get some vibrations. But now that everything is hashed out, we have the right props on here and the right tune, everything is nice and smooth. So this is kind of what I expect, and sometimes they just can't get it right out of the box, and I understand that. That's part of the way things go when they're manufacturing quads, but thank God for us reviewers here to hash a lot of this stuff out for you guys. And if Andy hadn't done that tune for you already, I would have done it myself, as always, right here next to the tree in the shade, because it's starting to get hot outside, you guys. It's becoming summertime really quickly here, so a lot of really nice days to shoot outside, and I appreciate you again hanging out with me out in the field and checking out the new Helifar quad. I really like this one a lot. So I'll try to put some links down below for the Firefly camera, and also if you want a TPU mount, let me know. I'll try to 3D print one of those for you, and I'll put some links to the proper batteries to use with this quad, as well as links to the props that I'm using, so you'll get the nice flying quad out of this combination. So thanks again for watching. As always, guys, if you see some people at the field that need help, pass it forward and help the next guy getting into the hobby. Please do help others. Take care, have a great week. I'll see you on the next one.